Oh dear. And we get to see these comps form. We get to see them in their entirety now. We are seeing a little bit of difference in play. So I love that CJ are doubling down. I really like this playstyle coming in. It really helps to function with Kassin as their proactive player, their player they should be playing through. I mean, this is really what we're all about, right? Junglers being the proactive play to create advantage states for your team. It's where you should be going in the first place. And it's really the core of pro play. On top of that, though, we see V3 get a really nice scaling comp. There's a little bit of early pressure within this, the Hecarim, the Gnar, and the Kaiser as well. But really, I think a lot of these champions are just looking to get out of laning phase. And we already identified that CGA sometimes, especially in top side, aren't the most proactive players by themselves. Now, this may change, however, with Nat unlocking a new champion for him, this split in the Camille. Now, once we get into the specifics of once we get into game, we'll talk about the specifics of this matchup, but by and large, I'm excited to see how Kassin maybe changes his priority in play, maybe doesn't look towards hybrid. And as remember, this champion Zeri, not really known for its huge laning pressure. Maybe instead we'll see him pilot towards the top side and look to pressure off Washidai.
I think the key thing for Kassin this game, though, is he's got options, is he's got a lot of lanes that he can play towards. There's a lot of stress up CC as well as the potential for carry, but we're going to have to see if he's able to get that going, as we are going to be heading into game for Crest Gaming Act versus V3 Esports.
Brilliant. Get to see how these, and it's the same thing every game nowadays. We get the ward dropping on bot side, the XP's handed over to the AD carriers. I love it when little mini metas form and then drop out again. I think it just amuses me. We are seeing a couple of rune pages that I think lend towards specific builds. Hella Blades on the Kaiser's pretty much a default at this point, but double phase rush coming from both UGO and Unica, meaning they know that they're playing for successful engages because of the amount of dive from CJ. If they aren't able to find the pick first, they can get that free runaway point, as very scary to be diving into a volley bear Kaito on the Vex there.
Yeah, it can be quite scary. And I just want to touch on a little bit of a summoner spell choice here. Dress Code opting towards this heal, whereas Hybrid has gone towards the cleanse. It feels like there's a lot of pick CC on both teams. Do you think that the heal option specifically here for Dress Code could actually come back to bite him in the later stages?
I mean, absolutely, but the heal is obviously orientated towards getting through this laning phase. I think Nautilus, such a ball of pressure for an AD carry. It makes any AD carry look good in the early game. And I think specifically people have started to see Renata not really as a strong laning threat. It's really once you're getting into mid game, you get access to that. I mean, she has a lot of good tools for skirmishes, specifically in lane, those like they can't really be properly used.
So it's more about waiting until we get a little bit later on into the game when she can drop that hostile takeover and get CGA fighting amongst themselves. It's not been a great few weeks.
Come out. Okay. And I really like this ward coming up from V3 because not only does it potentially scout our gang from Vision, as Nema's going to go and clear out, so I don't get to talk about it anyway. Continue with your points, sir. Continue.
No. It's a good ward. It's a good ward for V3, but well responded to by CGA. And Kassin may be the immediate beneficiaries. The V3 bot lane is not backing off. Dress Code still gets rooted and now has nowhere to go. The flash has already been burned and Hybrid gets the first blood.
And you talked about that cleanse being oh so important, and I mean, it shows it there. Just Code not being able to get out of that CC combination from Nema. Kassin comes in with the gank, really clean first blood, and it goes directly onto Hybrid. It's almost like we said they should be playing through this player.
Yeah.
Yes. They've been watching the LJL OU.
There's a reason that the Zeri has been banned against this guy so many times. Not for necessarily what we just saw, but what's going to happen in around about 15 minutes time if he can keep snowballing. And
I mean, it's just V3 and CGA both playing the game really well. I think V3 do a very smart ward to make sure that they can get this way push uncontested. Nema knows that their jungler's coming in, so clears the ward beforehand to make sure that he can play as aggressively as he wants. Flash auto to force the flash out, Q's afterwards. Very clean first blood.
And the thing is now, with that flash taken off of Dress Code, the repeat ganks can start to come through for CGA, because until that killer instinct is unlocked at the level 6, Kaiser not going to be particularly safe. What I want to see now from Unica, though, is how does he respond to this pressure that Kassin has been putting out?
Absolutely. He went for a full clear there. So not much to speak of. This is a Hecarim default. Big thing now is that, I mean, you look at the lanes that you could gank. You mentioned it already that CJ have a lot of CC coming up from their lanes as Hate Slash is coming in.
It's happening again. It's a good root drop by Hetel, but they're going to be flashed onto and taken out by Hybrid. It's a second gank in as many minutes into this bot lane, and once again, CJ's AD carry is the beneficiary.
V3 are a little bit too late. Unica passed down, but the kill's already been found. So what he ends up doing is just showing on vision for free. And this is going to give the space for Nap as well as Kassin on reset now to look towards this top side, because they know that Unica is going to be staying on this bot side, potentially clearing, as well as maybe looking for this first Drake, because they're going to have that reset on the support.
And this is something that's been missing from CJ for the past couple of weeks. It's been this proactivity from this Kassin, this willingness to gank bot lane in the hyper early stages and make it work. Your Uinog, what we talking about?
Kassin got spotted on a top lane ward, and we see Washadai should have been, he's pinged it, and they had their respect for it, but he's still playing very, very aggressively here. Does get the access to the Mega, and there's no level 6s yet, so no lockdown for Nap. And Washadai gets to actually avoid that gank for free, which I'm pretty sure he should be happy about, because Kassin went out of his way to path towards this top side here.
Yeah, it's a lot of invested time, but ultimately doesn't gain too much for it. And do you know what? Every second that Kassin wastes is time that Unica can spend farming. It's time that a Yu-Gi-Oh can scale up in the mid lane on this rise. It's time that's going to be very valuable to V3. And
as Yu-Gi-Oh hopefully gets his second reset, and we might see some itemization, we could potentially see Unica pathing towards this mid lane. Even after level 6, even with that fear in tow, Rune Prison is such an oppressive tool for making picks, and I really want to see V3 make proactive plays to either, if they can't play it through the lane of mid lane, get Yu-Gi-Oh on map paired up with Unica to look for picks in side lane using that Realm Warp.
Kassin just spotted out there on a ward. V3 have done a relatively good jungler of spotting out Kassin ever since those ganks towards the bottom side of the map. So hopefully for their sake, this Volibear doesn't get too many kills, doesn't get too many more assists, at least in this early game. It's a good start from CJ. 1,500 gold in the lead, but Unica with that level 6, the Onslaught of Shadows unlocked, thinking about ganking mid lane as Nema connects with the hook there onto Hetel in the bot side. Ooh. Guardian proc to keep the Renata a little bit healthier, but once again, Kassin in this bot lane brush.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing where Hetel could maybe have a little bit of lane safety. This handshake, the Q, which knocks an enemy in a target of your direction of your choice, does provide a little bit of safety, but it means that V3 still had to play so safe with this kind of scaling bot lane, and CJ take best advantage of that, get the wave shove in, and immediately look towards his first Drake. And even though Cloud Drakes are notorious early game dragons take in terms of damage, they get to steal it away and set themselves up with even more tempo as well as a gold lead.
Washadai now trading autos here with Nap. Not really seen too much of this top lane as Nema's taken to half HP in the bottom side. But this is a matchup that you said that CGA would be feeling pretty happy about. Camille generally quite good into a lot of these range characters.
Yep, absolutely. And even if it means that Nap isn't able to find kill threat within the early first 10 minutes of the game. Remember, Camille is not noted for her early game presence. She's noted for the fact that she hits 2 items, she gets a max points in Q, and she starts one-tapping people every 5 seconds. And I'm sure Nap is comfortable in the fact that he can just wait on this timer, wait till he gets his Divine Sundra, Triforce, whatever is applicable here, and look towards the mid-game pressure, diving onto the carries of V3, because remember, even with that killer instinct, it's really hard to get away from Hextech Ultimatum, and Yu-Gi-Oh is going to be by himself in these team fights, by and large.
Yeah, because there isn't a lot of peel, there isn't too much safety. Hetel can provide a lot of that anti-dive on this Renata pick, but aside from that, not really too much else to keep this Rise and the Kaiser alive. Obviously, likely going to be the tank build coming out from Yu-Gi-Oh, so can buy a little bit more time, but true damage still cuts through that pretty effectively.
One of the best parts of this Renata, though, is that the hostile taker is actually so slow that you can't use this Camille ultimate to avoid it. You will still get hit by the AoE. You're still going to end up, and that's going to come in tandem with the rest of the engage from CGA being all dashes, right? As the contest is coming in, and Washidai's almost mega now. They're going to immediately look for this fight as a 5-man in the top side.
5 members of V3, but CGA engaging on the top side. It is going to be the Rift Herald secured here by V3. Washidai is going to pick that one up as Unica is going low and going down. How many more kills can Crest Gaming act? Look, Hybrid is online, resetting with these autos, keeps getting the speed up as Yu-Gi-Oh is trying to roam up out of there and will just be able to escape. CGA get a couple kills, but crucially don't get that Herald.
I mean, just see this random 5v5 emerge in the top side. I mean, the Herald goes in the favor of V3, but I think they might have got it into... Yeah, they got it onto Washidai, but that was in return for a lot of HP burn very, very early on, and we get to see it here. So Washidai hits the Mega, but he doesn't really find a big ulti target. In return, V3, I mean, look at the split of damage coming in. 3v2 specifically around this Herald, and even though this hostile taker... Oh, sorry, I should say the bailout comes in for Unica, it's not enough for them to find a kill quick enough because the damage just isn't in position. Kaito does a fantastic job of choking out the big damage threat coming off of V3, and that gives Hybrid the opportunity to absolutely run them down, look for 2 more kills, and CJ very, very happy with that situation.
Nap dodged away from the Mega Gnar ultimate with the Hextech ultimatum.
I didn't even see that.
To get a little bit more damage onto Unica, which meant that Crest Gaming Act ended up picking up those kills, and specifically kills onto Hybrid, who 10.5 minutes into the game already sat on the Trinity Force for this Zeri. He is exactly where CJ want him to be, primed and ready to carry.
You know why that's so impressive? You cannot react to the Gnar ultimate. That Hextech ultimatum is very, very, very quick, but you have to read when Washidai is going to be using that ultimate. So he plays his cards, and he plays his cards well to find a really big win for his team. Very well played from Nap, actually. I'm very happy to see the Camille play already paying out in dividends.
Yeah, it's like we said in Champs, like not something we typically associate with Nap, but has looked very, very impressive so far. A minute until Infernal Drake would be the second of the game for CGA, as Nemo has been caught out here potentially, but multiple members of CGA are going to be here to the fight, and it's actually Hatel dropping down first. Unica chasing after the Nautilus, but isn't going to be able to take him out. V3 go over aggressive on what they think is a pick, but they get picked themselves.
I mean, I know Nautilus is one of the squishiest supports, but man, look at the lack of damage that you have in your team at the moment, especially with players not really being completely there to support that play. Over-aggression from V3, aptly punished by CGA, and this is leading right into this vision control on second Drake. Now, I was about to say, what a good job V3 were doing in creating some of this vision around this Drake, just as Dragon is spawning, but they immediately sequester 2 kills, and even though this Herald's going to come out in top lane, Unica has to, or UGO has to come and support that, and in turn, hopefully, if CGA are playing on point, they will take complete control of this vision in the bot side, take away all of the vision, and play for the second Drake and set themselves up for another win condition.
Because this is a play that we do see a lot of the time, right? One team will get the Herald and use that to get first tower and a load of gold. Another team will typically get towards those early Drakes, right? And maybe it hasn't panned out in necessarily the most traditional way of V3 securing that Herald. But a crucial thing about that trade, about this trade that we are currently seeing, is that the team that gets the Herald is usually coming out of that trade with a gold advantage, which means it's a lot easier to contest those later Drakes. Oak, that's not the case here.
And on top of that, the Herald was used in top lane. And this creates the perfect situation for Nap. He wants to be planted in this side lane and then holding that TP to find these flanks. And having this wave basically permanently shoved in, and him also having really easy shoving points to swallow CS. If Washidai isn't in top lane all the time, means that not only is Washidai now also locked into this lane, because if he leaves at any point, Nap can very quickly push in and get it under turret. On top of that, it means that
we might be getting a dive.
Oh, there's the front line coming in.
Pushed out the mid lane. Kassid is here. Nemo going to hook himself towards them as the Realm Warp is coming through here. 2 members of V3 joining, and the hostile takeover onto all 4 members of CJ, but they're going to be the ones that get the first kill of the fight. Dress code is going to be dropping low before dropping down in the end, but the hostile takeover will be used. He needs to get a kill to stay alive, but he isn't able to find it in the end. Washidai going low, but nearly at Mega. The health bar's blinking on both sides as Yu-Gi-Oh gets a kill, but it's going to be traded back. The Nav finally goes Mega. Hybrid just outside of tower range, playing so close. Washidai jumps in, gets the Nav as well, but doesn't get the auto madness in the bot side. Kills for CGA, and Nap collecting plates and towers in the top.
Yeah, Nap didn't have access to Unleash Teleport again and didn't feel like TPing onto that turret. So it means that CG are playing the 4v5. But man, what a back and forth for a second there. I really thought V3 had found a successful fight, because look at this. You'll see specifically CJ over aggression and this shadow surge specifically from Kaito. He's not able to follow up. Number one, big tool missing. Then immediately the hostile takeover comes in tandem with the team. They find so much damage, but then immediately Hybrid flexes his damage muscles, and alongside that with the rest of the team, they pick up 2 more kills. And really, unfortunately, this bailout from the Renata wasn't enough to find a kill in return to get that res up. So CJ looked really good. They back and forth it constantly. And then Washidai living on the skin of his teeth twice as he finds the Mega to just get a little bit of HP. And then again here, this ultimate just to pick off the shutdown onto Hybrid. What a messy fight, but ultimately in the favor of CGA as they pick up 3 more kills onto this Seri.
And that's the crazy thing, right, is how many autos Hybrid landed in that fight whilst he was on 10, 15, 20% HP. It's why that we've hyped up this guy so much, because he is able to just skirt a fight right on the limits, secure all of those kills, and now 15.5 into this game, 5 minutes after he picked up his mythic, he's got a Blade the Rune King as well. That gold difference between the AD carries is absolutely ludicrous. And
it really shows the difference in these teams. CJ understood their win con in this Seri. The amount of damage the champion can pull out once it hits 2 or 3 items is so important. They funnel all their gold into Hybrid, our superstar AD carry that I love so much. In return, V3, all of their gold has gone onto Washidai, which whilst it's going to help in mid game, you get the beefier frontline damage, it's not going to help your damage pool. Almost all of that is locked into dress code on this Kaiser, and he is only 1.5 items at the moment. Now V3 are starting for the fight though. Once again, hostile takeover.
Yeah, but the engage is just too quick onto Hertel. Uses the bailout, but doesn't buy himself any time. Kaito getting one by Washidai on the other side of the fight, using that gold lead that we mentioned, but the dive is happening in mid lane. Dress code is dead as well. The tower's going to be taken out too. Yes, you kill CGA's mid laner, but that's not the primary carry, V3.
Absolutely, and this Herald's going to get a 3rd charge as well onto this inhibitor, and CGA fishing. Oh, it gets killed just beforehand. Very good from Yu-Gi-Oh to pick off that Herald before it gets a 3rd charge, and it means their turret stays safe around this inhibitor. But CJ are still, they're not scared of this Renata, and the amount of counter engage that it has, they are still continuing to play aggressively, and it's working out very well for them. And the real reason is because, I mean, we're going to get to see this Herald come in here. The real reason is that Washidai was disconnected from this fight, and he's so much gold for this team. Whilst Kaito doesn't get picked up here, obviously you can see in the center fight, no damage to support Renata's really big goal, which is getting usage of that bailout, that resurrection to whenever they're able to find a takedown, they're unable to do so. And so this spell really isn't holding a lot of intrinsic value by itself. A lot of that agency of that spell is in that resurrection. And this champion's suffering a little bit because of it now. Hertel not having the greatest game at the moment. He's 0-5, and through that as well, we're seeing CJ actually play continually to choke up the vision of V3, to play towards whatever objective spawning. And you're seeing it in the next 15 seconds, the Drake is spawning, and look at the vision around this bot side. It's incomplete, but CJ have taken a grasp on this bot side.
Yeah, it'll do. It'll do. I think that's probably the best way to describe it so far. And I feel like that's the way that CJ are going to be thinking about this game, right? They've built themselves a fairly significant advantage. It's been relatively clean for them. Yes, it's against V3, but they just needed to get a win. The game's not done yet, though, and V3 can still come back. Yu-Gi-Oh gets a double root there as they're trying to engage onto him. But Unica has already taken solo. The first kill of the fight will be secured by V3, though. Hybrid is trying to cut as much as he can as Kassin is Stormbreakering away from this fight, but that's not going to stop the Zeri from going in. This bot lane tower doesn't seem to phase Hybrid at all, as Kaito and Nap are just going to try and get this wave shoved in, but not quite enough minions for CGA to opt into the dive. That was good from V3, honestly.
Yeah, it's a small win. We get the first pick off onto Nema there to stop some of that engage. Even with that depth charge coming in, CJ weren't able to really follow up. But remember, CJ still picked up this Drake and is setting themselves for a really nice early soul point with the Hex Tech Drake as well, which is probably holds the most intrinsic value out of all of the souls that you can pick up. So CJ definitely very, very happy about that one. And we're looking at V3 now, looking at, okay, what tools do they have to stall out CJ and look for their own win? And I think shutting down this soul is going to be really, really important to stopping CJ from finding an early victory. As we see here, just not enough damage really onto Yu-Gi-Oh! This tank build really holding effective value, plus the hostile takeover means Hybrid absolutely shreds his team. And yeah, luckily CJ identify that, they walk out, they just stay, okay, one has died, that's enough, we'll take that. But it was very scary for a second there.
Was Shidai actually being aggressed on by Nap,
Oh
who
my
probably
God,
didn't realize how quite fed the Gnar was? It's still mini, so particularly squishy, especially against Kassim. Forced to flash back, and now will continue to cope with the hyperprocs, but turns around for a second too long, and Kassim will punish with ease. Teleports into the fight coming through from Yu-Gi-Oh! And Kaito, but in the 1v3 situation, I don't think that the Rise is particularly well favored. Shadow Surge and the Q to deal a little bit of damage with the Realm Warp. Just in time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets out on a slither.
In return, it is the shutdown onto Washidai, a very big pickoff for Kassim. They do rotate 4 members down. It looks like B3 have eyes on the mid lane turret, though, as they look towards that. Remember, Unica also got this shove in on the top side as well, so they're choking out. They're trying to gain a little bit of vision around this Barret, because remember, the comp still got a lot of pick potential, and maybe they can look towards an individual pick on CJ, especially if they're able to get Washidai grouped up with their team. You're seeing it here, I think. Nap doesn't respect the power of this Gnar, and even with I forgot the whole breaker rush coming from Washidai, every single W proc, look at the amount of damage, the attack speed coming in from that component for his Triforce, oh so big, and he finds a solo kill there. And even though Washidai doesn't have falling here, look at the members that they have to throw down towards this spot side. I think the biggest punish point was getting this TP out of Yu-Gi-Oh! Really, I would have loved to see this team identify that actually, you know what, we're forced to kill trade here. We'll take it as is. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Has to burn both TP and Flash as well as the ultimate just to live here on a slither. Very risky play, and it doesn't really work out the plan of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think CJ are pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, because Washidai sort of being in those sort of 1v3 scenarios, drawing that pressure is kind of what V3 want him to do at this point in the game, right? He's meant to be this strong split pusher. That's why he's opted into the Trinity Force and the Hullbreaker, really indexing into the 1v1 items. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Expending resources that didn't really need to be spent, particularly when we've got this Hex Tech Drake up soon. The Realm Warp will be available, but the TP won't.
And nor with the Flash as well. And with this tank build, his specific one goal is locking down a key member of CGA, whether that be Nap if he dashes too far forwards, or Hybrid if he steps up too far. You want to get that Ring Prison on a key target for Unica and Washidai to follow up with a little bit more CC to get some damage on the board. And not having that Flash is a really big issue if they're going to be looking towards that. I mean, look at Hybrid's scoreline right now. He's got his third item as well. So it's a 3-item AD carry at 22 minutes in the game. And it's all Bruiser build, baby, which means that initial pickoff is oh so important just to get potentially the cleanse out, even a kill if Hybrid oversteps far enough.
Also, I'm thinking now, how do V3 actually get access onto Hybrid? Because Yu-Gi-Oh!, like we said, doesn't have that Flash. Dress Code, I don't think he's really in a position to 1v1 the Zerial to dive them particularly aggressively. Kaito diving forward and just one-shots Dress Code. Where did the Kaiser go? Unica tries to get into the backline and deal some damage, but it's not gonna happen, mate. Yu-Gi-Oh! Now being chased down. Kassim goes gold, and Hybrid skates his way over the wall to kill a couple more people. Washidai gonna be the focus, taken out as Hatel will fall as well. Domination, desolation for V3, and CGA are gonna head straight over to the Baron.
I want to see some efficiency here from CJ. They get the clean ace, they have a wave pushed in on mid lane as well as the strike as well. Use as much of the pressure as you have at this point. So hopefully, once we come back into the live game, we'll see the Baron gone as well as an inhibitor. Kaito, look at this. bam, Kasin comes in on top of that for the CC to immediately pick off member of V3, and it just spells doom from here as they're constantly walking forwards. And you know what champion loves walking forward? Zeri. Complete rundown coming in here, and immediately, as soon as she picks off Yu-Gi-Oh, dashes forward, flashes forward to continue the fight as well, and with the red buff, it's just doom for V3 as they get absolutely run down. Now, looking at live game now, we've seen the Baron has been picked up, as well as that mid lane inhibitor turret, and now they also get to look towards this dragon as well. A little bit later on the tempo, it looks like V3 might end up picking it up. They not only do they stop the soul, they also get a big bounty as well. But there's a Baron pushing in there looking for the fight.
The Lol Bear running forward, but the Shirelias just gets V3 away. I feel like if Hextech Soul had gone over, it's doomed, right? CJ, there's no way that they can lose this game. V3 have bought themselves a lifeline, maybe. But CGA are definitely still in the aggressive position, and V3 are locked under this bot lane tower. Nap could look to take the inhib, or maybe Crest Gaming Act are going to go for a dive here. I
think Nap is being really smart here with delaying this inhib just somewhat. He wants to pull a member of V3 so they can potentially look for the dive through the damage of Kaito, and you're seeing it best there. Half health Unica. V3 have to give up the turret in response, and yeah, CJ playing this macro very, very clean thus far. Hopefully now they can look towards this mid lane inhibitor as this bot lane turret might start to get unlocked. Getting your waves together at the same time is oh so important, so Nap needs to get on that mid wave on the right timer so that both of these waves come in and tandem each other, and they can really pressure in for potential double in here.
I love it. CJ have been aggressive when even and patient when behind this game. They understand they're in an advantage and they don't want to let it slip. First damage being dropped onto Hetu, who gets the hostile takeover, but it doesn't buy him any time at all. And it's just a victory march. We said that CGA were patient. Maybe they're just clinical instead. Two very, very easy kills as Nap gets executed in the mid lane for absolutely no reason at all. Shadow Surge not quite going to connect there. This is a 4v3, but the health power advantage is with V3. Can CJ clean this one up? Fear crucially landing there onto dress code as Washida is going to be taken out as well. This is going to be a risky play. There's a lot of damage on this Rise. There's a lot of damage on this Kai'Sa, but CGA continuing to go for it. Hybrid hitting down onto that Nexus Tower is just going to be the mid lane inhib and a back away.
Absolutely, yeah. A little bit of over-aggression from CJ means they lose a lot of HP. They also use Nap to an execution somehow, which I think is hilarious. And it means that they aren't able to look for the end there, but they get very, very close. Two inhibitors knocked down, as well as one of those Nexus turrets. And immediately they're on the ball to know that, well, Hybrid can get this wave shoving on the top side. Baron is still going, by the way, which means they can look towards potentially even a third inhib. And we're seeing... You said clinical, and we can really talk about how clean this dive came in from Kasin. He uses the ultimate to shut down this turret, but on top of that, immediately onto the key member for this disengage for V3. They pick up Hetel first, and that means that whilst this ultimate comes out, it's oh so late to stop the disruption and the dive from CJ, and they get to walk forward, repeatedly finding kill after kill. Nap here, this is quite funny. He ends up tanking about 7 turret autos because he misses that hook shot. So yes, Nap, it's his first game. You had to give him, he's got some learning to do, okay? He's getting ready for it.
Do you know what? Nap, I prescribed to you 2 hours in the practice stall, practicing hook shot wall dives. Been a bit quiet this game, but CJ haven't really needed him to be too loud. Unica just running himself away there. It's not been a great day for him on the Hecarim. Wasn't able to get much done in the early game, and by the time that this Hecarim has got to this sort of later point into the game, now that level 13, the rest of his team were not really in a place to get used to it. CGA, they took down that mid lane, they took down that bot lane inhibitor, top lane inhib tower going to be the focus, so they may just look for the fight. Kasin once again diving forward as Hotel is going to get taken out right at the start, and it's just too easy. CJ going to clean up this fight. Nap diving under the Nexus Towers once again, won't be going down this time. And CJ, they stop the fall. They arrest the development of V3 and are going to take down this Nexus and put themselves a bit more securely in that 5th place playoff spot.
And I'm still CGA are very happy to break that lose streak there. We kind of came into this going, oh, both of these teams have lost quite a lot recently, but CJ finally get a dub, and I think we're both very happy to see it. Really, a little bit of proactivity goes a long way, and we saw it best